Hello folks, Paul here with a how-to video for you, and this one is a very requested video. It is how to make this. This is a watermelon base hookah. It's not something I do very often because personally I like to eat watermelon rather than use it as a base for my hookahs. But yeah, I'm gonna show you my process, which is a little bit different than what you guys have probably seen in some other places, and I think that this is actually a much more efficient process that gives you a better smoke, which, as you can see, is well sealed and gives me nice clouds. So the process is pretty simple. What I do is I start by cutting off the very bottom of the watermelon. I actually cut it a little bit close here. You want to cut it so that the white of the watermelon, the actual like pith of it, is the only thing showing. You don't want to see any of the flesh, as that means that water can potentially permeate. Now, the reason that I cut the bottom off is mostly to make it more stable while I do the next step. The next step, I actually measure the size of my hookah's junction between the stem and the vase. I use calipers. I have those on hand, but you can actually do kind of the same with a piece of paper and some tape. Now what you do is you wrap the tape around the paper, around the junction, and that gives you kind of a sleeve that you can then use to mark out the exact shape. You want to actually cut a little bit smaller so you can give yourself some room and a little bit of leeway if you mess up, because you want a solid, tight seal here. Now comes the, I guess, sloppy part. Using a knife, I cut out the plug of the actual skin. I then pull that out. As you can see here, it has a decent amount of flesh on it, but next comes hollowing. Hollowing is kind of a problem when you do it in this method, because instead of cutting the top off of the watermelon and then replacing that as if it were some kind of gasket, I actually use a combination of knives and actually a grill fork to scoop out the inside and hollow it out. You don't need much water in there. You just need enough space and enough depth so that your downstem can reach in without being obstructed by any of the flesh of the watermelon. You then do what you can to get as much of that pulp out of the out of your new hookah base, which can be kind of a problem. It will take a little bit of finagling. You don't need to get it all, but the less pulp that there is inside of the watermelon, the smoother the smoke is going to be, and you're not going to get any chunks gumming things up and making it hard to draw. Next, you can see me here actually fitting the hookah together. The way I do this is I really love to use a silicone finned grommet because it conforms to irregular shapes, which I'm pretty handy with a knife, and the calipers allow me to get a pretty neat circle, but the fins fill in the gaps. You can kind of cheat a little bit by using the wet paper towel grommet method that I've shown you guys before, and that'll create a pretty good seal, but it's not quite as solid. It's not quite as stable. So it should be noted that I actually used the juice from the watermelon to fill this back up. I dumped out the pulp and juice that's created from hollowing out the inside, and then added the juice back into the watermelon with a little bit of water to top it off. It can be hard to see your water level, obviously, because it's a solid piece of watermelon. But you can kind of eyeball it, try it out a few different times, add a little bit of water, take a little bit of water out, and you should be able to find the perfect level. And as you can see here, it works pretty well. It does the job. I did some carving on the outside with some of my my leather tools, actually, just to give it a little bit of extra flair. I thought you guys would like the flame smoke kind of motif, and it looks a little bit better to me than just a watermelon. I have this bowl here that it's sitting in case anything leaks out of the bottom, and it also helps to stabilize the entire thing. I'm lucky that I have a bowl that fits this watermelon quite well and creates a pretty solid base. But if you don't have a bowl that fits really well, it doesn't fit the watermelon that you've chosen, if you cut the bottom off carefully, you can actually put this on top of a baking sheet or a cooking sheet. And that will help to stabilize things as well, and also catch any liquid that might leak. Now, funny enough, as much as I am not a big fan of using fruit bowls or fruit vases, this one is actually lending a bit of flavor to the smoke, and I'm actually really enjoying it. It's not a huge amount of flavor, it's just enough that you can tell that it's watermelon. I'm currently smoking Social Smoke Absolute Zero, and that is a light enough flavor with just a nice strong minty kick that blends well with the watermelon. It's kind of a watermelon chill flavor right now, and it's nice. It doesn't overpower the flavor of the fruit, which a stronger flavor might. So anyways, that's my process for making a watermelon vase. As you can see, it's actually pretty successful. I'm getting really good clouds here because the seal is so good. And I hope you guys try it out. It's really nice at parties. It's a great conversation starter, and it actually does lend a little bit of flavor to the session. So that's it. This is Paul once again for Hookah.org saying thank you very much for joining us. Please check this out. Try it out for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below or on the forums. I try to check those as often as I possibly can. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks very much for joining us. Please make sure to like and subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy smoking.